Okay, I'm going to start with painting the skin color, and I use basic skin color tone, light flesh. Kind of mix it together until I get the consistency I think I like. So I'm using a round brush, which is a fairly small brush. And when you see the figure, it's kind of hard to see the details in white, but as you paint, you'll start seeing the features come out. You just want to make sure there's no big globs of paint filling in the features. If you get too much paint on your brush, just wipe some of it off. Brush starts to get kind of stiff. I want to keep it fluid, so I'll rinse my brush in the water and get some fresh paint on it. So now you can see that the features are coming alive as the paint went on. So now we'll do a little bit on the arms. And with this paint, it has good coverage. And it's very fluid. So I don't add any extra water to the paint, which will water it down. I'm just paint it straight out of the bottle, so to speak. Try to keep it as clean as possible, but if you get some on something else, the paint covers pretty well, so you can touch up areas that tend to get too much paint on the, like on the pants. This type of plastic is very slightly grainy, and it's slightly porous. So the paint just kind of soaks into it, which is good because it makes a pretty good bond with the plastic. It also fills in some of the graininess. The place where I need to get before I go any farther is right around the neck area here where it's open, the shirt is open. So I'm going to do that. Then around the collar here, there's some skin. So go in. This brush I'm using here is a 12/0, so it's a very small point, as you can see. So I think I've got around the neck pretty good. Before we do the face, we want to do underneath the hat here because it's around the face. So we've taken a little bit of brown, a little bit of black. And I take our tiny brush here. I'm going to try to do this without getting it on the skin. And then try to keep it off the face the best you can. Go right around that forehead. The way the hat fits, it doesn't really allow for the hair to show. So all you're really doing is painting the hat. And we're going to paint the hat top later, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. I think that's good. Let's try a little bit of brown. And there's a little bee area here. If you look at the movie, I think Bogart's head was too large for the hat, and they cut a V in the back in order to allow him to wear the hat. Looks like the hairline can go up underneath the hat a little bit here. You painted the hat, Bill. You painted the hair. Now we're going to go for the eyebrows. What I try to do is use the side of the brush. You want a light touch. Can't really paint the eyes, they're really too small unless you're really a micro painter. So what I do is just put a little dark in that area there. And now I want to do the beard. I'm going to take some basic flesh tone, a little bit of brown, the flesh tone and the brown together to get kind of a grayish beard. And you can see from what I painted before that the beard is just a brownish color because you can't really paint all those little whiskers, so it's going to dry darker. Just kind of follow his jawline. Because I want to blend into the sideburns just a little bit here. Blend that a little bit so it's not so harsh. And that's it. Okay, now we're going to paint the scarf gray. Touch of black and white. Just keep moving it around in different spots until I get about the right gray. So that's kind of cold. So what I'm going to do is take a little tiny drop of brown, put that in there. So now it is a warm or gray, which I think will go nicer with the scarf. Start with the front. Kind of just got to feel your way along that surface. The surface is there. So even though it's white, it starts appearing a little clearer. And if you get some gray somewhere you don't want, don't worry, you can go in there and touch it up. Around the back. We've painted the scarf gray. We're going to put some red stripes in that later. But we're going to paint the pants and the hat. They're going to be a tone that's a kind of a khaki color. So what we're going to do is move this out of the way. We're going to take a cup. These are disposable plastic things you can get at the grocery store. The restaurants use them for sauce. I mix the paint up in these so they'll last a couple of days in case I have to come back and do touch-up. And since I'm painting a large area, I'm going to need quite a bit of paint. So I'm using the buff, and I'm going to be using the white. I have a palette knife to mix with, and eventually I'll be painting with a whiter brush. This color combination is going to be mostly white, and I'm going to need a pretty good amount of it, so I'm going to put in a pretty good amount. Now this is the tricky part. Putting the buff in there, you don't want to put too much in there. If it gets too dark, you'll have to put more white. and you'll end up in a vicious cycle. So a little creamier, but I definitely need some more. So we'll be a little bit more generous this time. But I would say we're going to go with a little bit more. Okay, I think we're close to the different choices we can make, but I think this is just looking a little bit too clean, a little bit too nice pants. So I think what we're going to do is take a little bit of brown, just a touch of this flat brown to kind of dirty it up a little bit, just a little bit. Don't want to put too much of that in because that comes up strong fast. But this will make his pants look more worn. A little bit older. So now we're going to test it, see what it looks like. Okay, I think that took some of the yellowness out a little bit. And we're going to dry it because it's going to dry just a little bit darker. And we'll see what we get. So now we've dried the paint, and you can see that this side is a little duller, a little more natural looking. This one's kind of bright yellowish. I think I like this. So that's the color we're going to go with. Now you can see that I've painted most of the pants. Got little spots around the hands we're going to touch up. So let's do the final touch up. And then we'll do the cap. We're going to use the tiny brush to get in close around the hands. Okay, I think we got around the hands pretty good. Now we're going to go back up to the cap. We're going to use the small brush right along that edge. So this paint does well for covering up your mistakes. And there's the hat. So things have cleaned up nicely, and I think that's it. We're going to paint the belt a dark brown. So we're going to take a little bit of our flat brown. We're going to use the 12/0 brush. So that's the belt. And I think that's pretty good. We can put a little silver on the belt buckle here later. Now we're going to paint the red stripes on the scarf or his neckerchief. And as you can see, one that I've painted before, kind of what it looks like. And the red I'm going to use is kind of bright, so we're going to have to dull it down a little bit or it'll look too red. So let's go. So I'm using a flat red. So we're going to take a little bit of brown. Kind of turns it into more of a burgundy color or a reddish brown. Okay, I think that's going to dry dark enough. It's kind of like a red cherry. What we're going to do is we're going to test it. We're going to put it on the back here. Okay, and we're going to let that dry. And as you can see, it's gone dark. So that's good. The trick is just to get just enough on that brush so you don't put too much down. I think that's good. What we're going to do now is paint his shoes. In the movie, his shoes are the same color as his pants, or very close to it. But you could choose to make them a little darker to make them stand out a little more if you'd like. But what we're going to do right now is just put a base color, same as the pants. And we have our paint that we saved from yesterday, so we'll just open that up. And we'll just put a nice little coat on there. Don't have to worry about getting it on the pants because pants are exactly the same color. Put that over to dry. Okay, now we're going to dirty up the pants. So we're going to take our matching pant color that we had from yesterday. I'm going to take a tray. I'm going to take some of this paint, put it on the tray because we want to keep our pant color in case we need to do any more touch-up on any characters. So that should be enough, I think. So we'll get this out of the way. And then we're going to add some flat brown. I'm going to put it over here on the side. We're going to add up a mixture that kind of makes the same color as the pants, but they're going to be just a little darker. You don't want to go too dark because it's going to dry darker. I'm going to put a little bit on the back of the leg here. Going to see, we might be a little bit too dark already, but I'm sure his pants probably get dirty where he sits. So put some there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the hair dryer and dry it quickly to see if we're okay. Okay, so we've dried that, and you can see that there's enough of a difference that you can see that it could be defective dirt on his pants or grease or whatever else he might have gotten into. So now we're going to do some more, but we're going to do it as kind of a dry brush effect where we just want a little bit on the brush. So you wipe it on the paper towel, and we'll just put some on his knees here. And then I imagine on the side where he has his hands all the time around the pockets, put a little there, just in different spots. You don't want to overdo it or you'll end up with the pants just a different color. Maybe some streaks down here. Maybe some across here. It almost looks like I'm not painting, but when it dries, remember, it's going to go dark like that. I'm going to do his cap right now, so let's put a little on here. You can already see it starting to darken up as it dries. So if you look at that one, and we'll compare it against the clean one, and you can see the difference. And as it dries, it gets just a little darker, so that's why you got to be a little careful on how much you put on. Now it's time to paint the shirt. Trying to paint stripes on a shirt is very difficult. So we have another solution. We're going to cover it in fabric, and it will come out very nice, and we'll show you that in the next video.